Hey guys, it's Noel Bittinger with Bittinger Team Realtors. I'm back again here. It is fall. Yeah, I'm wearing a sweater today. So it's getting kind of nippy out there. So as we move along in this lovely real estate market, I wanted to explain to you, I know a lot of people always have questions about the whole appraisal process and what the appraisal is all about. And you hear all of these terms right now about appraisals. Well, appraisals are definitely a very important part of the whole home buying process. A real estate appraiser is someone who establishes the market value of a property. When you sell a property and a buyer pays something for it to the seller, then that's not the end of that. Mr. or Mrs. Appraiser person has to come along from the bank and appraise the property. That is, determine what the value of the property is. And when I say from the bank, these are really third-party companies that the bank hires out. They are an objective company or person that comes out and does this. They're not employed by the banks for the most part, and they're not selected by the buyer either. So it's a total third-party company that is doing this appraisal. What they do is basically do kind of what a realtor does when they come out and give you a market analysis. However, there is a big difference. A realtor bases this on, when they do their market analysis, on the comparables that are in the system, other homes that are sold in the area. An appraiser does the same thing, but their report is a much more detailed report. These are licensed appraisers that give the bank so much detail about the market, about the information, about the property, and about the community and that sort of thing. So that's the only way that an appraisal can be submitted, is with this appraisal report. And these, again, are licensed appraisers. So don't confuse the market analysis with an appraisal. One is done by the realtor to determine value when you put the property on the market. And then the final authority has to come along, is when you sell the property, then the bank sends that appraiser out to take care of determining the final value. So, and the process, the buyer cannot get approved until we actually have the appraisal submitted. So the appraiser person comes out to the property, checks out the property, does their measurements and so on, then sends in the report to the bank, and the bank takes a look at that. If it is, the term that we use is, if it comes in at value, that means yay, we're in good situation, and we're going to go ahead and move along to closing and not have a problem with the appraisal. However, sometimes you have a situation where it is below value. It's a low appraisal. And what happens there is the bank informs the buyer that, hey, your appraisal came in too low or low. So let's say if you sold the house for $300,000, the appraisal came in for $290,000. We have a $10,000 deficiency there. Somehow somebody has to do something. Either the seller has to come down or the buyer has to come up. And what I mean by the buyer has to come up is the buyer has to have this additional money cash. They cannot mortgage this amount. So they have to have additional funds. So when we select an offer from, let's say if we have multiple buyers in a situation, when we select a buyer, we want to make sure that we select the strongest buyer that we feel may have additional cash to close on a home. That's why it's survival of the fittest right now. The strongest buyers are the ones that are getting these deals out there. So that's the situation. So either the buyer comes up or the seller comes down, or they meet in the middle and 5,000 here and 5,000 there as an equitable solution. But the issue with that is that happens after the fact. After we accept an offer, then 2-3 weeks down the road, we get the appraisal back, and the appraisal tells us there's an issue. How a lot of offers are being accepted right now is to deal with this issue up front, to ask the buyer to come up with the difference. Should we have an appraisal shortfall in the future, we're asking the buyer to come up with the difference now. That is to not come up with it now, but to let us know that they're going to come up with this difference should that situation occur. So the buyer is signing an addendum or a clause that states that should we have an appraisal shortfall, then you're going to come up with $5,000 difference in between sale price and appraised value, or the full amount. Whatever it appraises for, the buyer will pay the difference. If the buyer wants a home bad enough, they will do that. And we're getting a tremendous amount of buyers accepting that they will waive the appraisal totally. And that's how we and that's a great thing for the seller, because the seller never has to worry about an appraisal issue down the road. It's a much better situation than to have to deal with it 2-3 weeks after we accept an offer, and then possibly have a deal fall apart because the parties aren't coming to an agreement with the appraisal difference there. So that's what we call buyer waiving an appraisal, so that the offer is not subject upon the appraisal. So whatever it appraises at, the buyer's agreeing that they're going to come up with the difference, or they'll agree to a certain amount, which will help also. The other thing that's happening today, I don't know why this is happening really, but for buyers who are putting down a substantial amount, I've seen even as little as 20%, where the lender will actually not even do an appraisal. They will go ahead and waive the appraisal totally, which is a very happy day for everyone because there's no issues. Buyer never has to come up with a difference. Seller doesn't have to do anything, and it's a fabulous thing. But usually we don't really know that until after we accept the offer, and then we hear from the lender that they're going to waive it. They used to waive them, I think, only on the very higher down payments, like 50-40% down. But now I've seen them even with 20% down, which is a great thing all around. Not quite sure why that's being done, but it is being done. Of course, the higher down payment buyer you have, the less risk you have, because they have a substantial amount of money into the property as opposed to a 5% buyer. But still, I'm surprised that that's happening. So there you have it. That's the ins and outs of an appraisal. Let me know if you have any questions. We're always here for you. Okay, bye.